So we have Gerjon, is that pronounced correctly? Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. And he will go through Azure's OpenAI. And yeah, so he works at RawWorks, principal consultant. And he's been talking a lot for past years, so I think we can expect a really good lecture from him. No pressure.
Thanks.
So in Icelandic, so bara velkomin og bara njótið. So Gerjon, just start.
All right, let's do that. Yes. Well, first, thanks for having me. It's really cool to present at these user group events, as they are a little more compact and you can get a little more into the details. So what I'll do this coming, I hope 55 minutes, is take you on a trip on how Azure OpenAI is used inside the Microsoft stack. So, but first of all, we're not going to talk about this kind of AI, but more about the good old Clippy type of AI. As you can see, Microsoft is using the more soft approach for Azure, saying it's more of a co-pilot, so it's not the pilot of the plane, but the co-pilot, so it will assist you. And Azure OpenAI is the cornerstone of everything that Microsoft is doing about that. So my session goals for today are to acknowledge the change that is coming, to help you a little bit with how Microsoft is doing stuff and how you can start. So the main thing about this is to inspire everyone to just play around with it. It's you can have for the different types, you can have trial licenses, or you can use your Visual Studio monthly credits or whatever just to play around with it. Just a small funny thing. So I use the A and the I to acknowledge and inspire. So I hope I can help you guys get a little bit more excited about how AI can help us make our job more fun and efficient. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll open the chat or raise your hand. I'd like to keep it informative and interactive if possible, but I heard from one of the guys in the call that Icelandic people are not the typical, they are not Americans, so they don't tell everything that they want to know. So, but you can also contact me later. I'll leave my contact details in the chat at the end. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, I'm not Gandalf the Great, so I don't know everything. I feel sometimes more like Frodo, the guy who has to throw the ring in the fire, doing the best he can to get the job done, and he gets the job done, but not knowing all the details of the whole story. So I'm a little bit more, I'm also in this journey myself. So it's really cool to tell you about the things that I've done, my company has done, we've done at customers, or we're playing around with and thinking about, and to show you what's possible. So a little bit about me. I'm Gerjon Kunst. It's a really, it's a Dutch name and it's hard to pronounce in any foreign language. So mostly when I'm in America, I'm Gerard because they can pronounce that. But it's Gerjon. I work at a Dutch company called RawWorks. We're a IT company that mostly is specialized in Microsoft Azure Office 365. I'm the product owner for the AI workspace there. So we are building a workspace that has a chatbot, AI functionality, and a data lake, etc., all connected. So you have one place where you can get all your information. You can do your help desk ticketing. You can get information about HR, etc. That's all in one workplace, and that's some of the things I'm going to show here. Might help you get your own ideas on how that can be created. Next to that, I'm a principal consultant there, so I do project at customers, and I'm also part of the innovation office. So I'm one of the innovation officers. So we try to do new things. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I also do something in the Citrix stack, mostly because of my past and the presentations I sometimes give at Citrix user group. So I'm also Citrix CTA. So agenda for today: brief overview about what is AI, history of AI, and the state of AI. So what is it, where have we come from, and what are the latest and greatest? And then we're going to talk about AI in the Microsoft ecosystem. I have some examples for build your own bots or etc. And a little wrap up at the end to help you make more sense of it and hopefully give you the ideas and the inspiration to give your weekend to AI instead of to your wife. And first, let me start by saying, well, ChatGPT had its first anniversary. This is a DALL-E created image of ChatGPT having his own first birthday. So the first birthday is done, and it will be one of many, I think. Just a small reminder that this is not only rainbows and unicorns, so it's not only good news. We're also going to talk about some of the disadvantages of using AI, mostly in the broader form, not really technology related, because in the technology part, if you can dream it, you can build it. Almost everything is possible, but more to say that AI is not the solution to all of our problems. So let me start with, okay, what is AI? If you look at, there are a lot of definitions on the internet. I just got two, one from TechTarget and one from Coursera. Just saying it's the machine helping you do your job for you. It's making decisions. It's identifying patterns, and it's an umbrella term that encompasses a wide variety of technologies, including machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing. So in essence, machine learning is you put a lot of information in it, and it will accumulate trends and risks and assessments on that information. The other thing is natural language processing, where you can put information in it. It will process that information and give you feedback based on the question or the problem you asked. Then you can debate about what types of AI exists. Well, there are many definitions. I got one from Professor Aaron Hintze of the University of Michigan that's saying, well, you have reactive. Those are machines that are the most basic type. They don't possess any knowledge, but they react to what's given to them at any moment. And they can only perform certain tasks. You have limited memory machines, so they have a little bit more memory of things they've done in the past to help them make better decisions in the future. For example, autonomous vehicles that have limited knowledge of what happened in the past, but they can anticipate using that knowledge for things that might happen in the future. So theory of mind machines, those are an early form of artificial intelligence. They can create representations of the world, and they use other entities that exist within those worlds. So this theory of mind machines is not really come to mind at the moment, but it's something that, and of course the latest one is self-aware machines, and that's not something that is happening at the moment. So the most things we are working with are the limited memory machines, where you can input information. They make decisions based on that, based on the outcome of their decisions. They learn from themselves, making them smarter in the end. So, and I found, I looked at, okay, what's the difference between humans and AI? And one of the key differences between humans and AI is that an AI can dream. It can create connections between things that we haven't thought of yet, but it can create something out of thin air. For example, Gisli talked about, there's an app available where you can make games, just typing in what you want to do, but you have to have the idea about what the game should look like. And then the machine can build it. But we still need to dream. So that's one of the things we have to keep doing. So if you look at the history of AI, it's going a long way back. It's one of the earliest things I saw. I don't know if you can hear the audio, but this is a Tom and Jerry movie about a computer cat. And this cat will, so Jerry's not liking it at all, so I'll fast forward a bit. But he was the first one that lost a job to AI, because there was a cat that could do a job a little bit better. So, and this is a movie from the 1960s, just thinking about that. This is something that has been on the mind of people since the beginning of time, I think. But it's just fun. But just to show you that people have been thinking about how computers are going to take over the world for a very long time. Well, if you look back at the history of AI, you have the 1950, where Alan Turing proposed his Turing machine, with the Turing test. It was a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior. So that's the 1950. That's almost 80 years ago. And from then, 1956, John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence. 1960s, there were early AI researchers. And then 1970s, we had high expectations and lack of significant progress. So AI experienced its first winter. With any technology that's been developed, you can see in first, everybody loves it. And then there's the valley of deception where they think, oh, crap, it's not the, oh, peep, it's not the holy grail. It's not going to solve all our problems. And then there's the acceptance, and then it will go further. But in the 1970s, there was a lot of crisis, a lot of stuff happening in the world. So we had other things on our mind. If you look at the 1980s, there was a revival of AI with machine learning experts systems which simulate decision making. And then IBM Deep Blue, 1979. I still remember the name. It was defeating Kasparov as the reigning champion of chess. And then 2020 was OpenAI GPT-3, so that was a little bit of a hype, but not that much. And in January 23, JetGPT gained significant speed. It was released in November 2022, but you can see it has a significant sped up the acceptance of AI in the mainstream IT and mainstream business world. So as you can see, the AI is... We have a long history with AI, but it's just in the last year, it's becoming really apparent. So what's the current state of AI? And there are different, it depends on how you look at it. I'm looking at mostly the stuff that hits the user. So the natural language models. If you look at, I tried to find who created this graphic, but I couldn't find the author. So if the author is watching this, sorry. But if you give me your credits, I'll add them later. But if you look at May 2020, GPT-3 was released, and Gopher and Google released some stuff. Microsoft together with NVIDIA released something. But if you look at November 22, when JetGPT was released, you can see Bard was released from Google. Grok, Elon Musk and his gang from X released Grok recently. And I think yesterday, Google launched Gemini, which they claim. So they claim they are better than GPT-4, so they are better at natural language processing and making decisions based than the GPT-4 model from OpenAI. Well, it's all based on this, and it's all based on measurements until this date, so we don't know. So as you can see, it's turning into a Red Sea. There are a lot of companies that are developing AI, natural language models, or other AI models, and there is a lot of back and forth between all them saying they are the best. But just to show you that the development is going like crazy at the moment. So if you look at the big players, I found this online. It's one of the top AI companies. If you look at the big players, it's of course Google with Bard and Gemini. You have OpenAI with the JetGPT. You have Microsoft with their implementation of OpenAI. So what they did is they gave Microsoft a big bag of money saying, shut up and take my money. We want the OpenAI stuff and we want to integrate it in our own Azure and Office 365 environment. So they use their technology and other technology that they developed themselves. So we're going to look about Azure Cognitive Services in a bit, just to show you how powerful also that kind of stuff is. But there are also more big. Is my mic stopping?
Yeah, it's working now. Sorry, it just dropped out for a second there.
Okay, if it starts again, I have a backup my earpiece, and then we'll add that one. But it's good to know. Keep me informed. So if you look at the big players, you have NVIDIA, which are building the GPUs to run all these AI models from, because of all the high capacity that's needed, the calculation capacity. It's mostly done in GPU instead of CPU. Tesla, of course, with their autonomous driving, and other companies. IBM with their Dr. Watson that we all love and hated in the past, because when an application crashed in Windows XP, mostly Dr. Watson came on saying something crashed and I don't know what to do. But Dr. Watson is still alive and kicking, and it sucks a lot less at the moment. So you can see there are a lot of big players, and on the left there are a lot more players that Dynatrace, Darktrace, those are Bayonet AI. Those are all companies that are built on AI, using AI, and have a lot of AI in their portfolio for Darktrace, for example, for security. So it's really cool to see how AI has brought up companies we already know, but also a lot of new startups and other companies that are encompassing AI in their core software. So that's really cool. So now we're going to get a little bit to the inspire part. So the boring stuff is done. If you look at, you want to start your journey, you can get a free account for Bard JetGPT, so you can do the natural language model talk. So what's the weather like in Spain? And it will give you an answer based on the information it has. You can do DALL-E, Midjourney, PicsArt for creating images. Just search on the name, you can get a free account, and you can create images or whatever you want to do with that. There are countless others. I will put the link in the chat here, but there are 152 best AI tools of 2023. Those are from video editors to natural language to speech to text, text to speech. Give it, and it's there. It's really incredible to see what tools are available using AI and what the quality of some of the tools are. Because Microsoft has the Copilot stuff, but there's a company called SenseStat that already had automatically creating of, for example, PowerPoint slides way before Microsoft even thought of it. So I've used SenseStat a few times. Not for this presentation. This is all me. This is not AI. It's Gerjon Gerjon intelligence, not artificial. But if you look at SenseStat, for example, it can really create a cool PowerPoint slide based on a little bit of input. And it can do that for already, I think, 2 or 3 years or something. So there's a lot of tools outside of the Microsoft world that can help you in your journey to understanding AI, playing around with AI, and seeing how good it is. There are also a lot of business application integrations. One of the scary ones is I recently watched a demo where if there is an online meeting and you're doing a sales pitch, based on the interaction that the people have with the camera, the AI tooling can predict the plausibility of them buying the software. So that's incredibly scary and incredibly powerful. But those are business application integration, for example, that are used at the moment and are working and are available. And of course, you can always build your custom large language model bots. I'll also put a link in the show note where you can download an open source large language model bot, and you can inject your own training data, and you can run it offline on your laptop. So you don't need to use the Microsoft Cloud to play around with it. You just can download stuff. It's a kind of click to run. You run it. It serves a website. You can input the large language models you want, and you can run all kinds of stuff on it. So it's a really big, vast world, and you can learn a lot from. For example, if you download one of those large language bots on your laptop, you can play around and see what it does and how it will react to ingesting different kinds of data. Then we're going to look a little bit about the Microsoft base, because this is Azure user group, so a Microsoft based user group. We have, of course, the Copilots, the Microsoft Copilot, the GitHub Copilot, where you can input, I'd like a Terraform code doing this and this and this, and it will create the code for you, and you can use it. I have a small few slides about the Azure Copilot, because it's in tech preview. It's been released on Ignite, so that's really cool. And there are, of course, in the Power Platform, the Windows, the Edge one you already all have. If you open Edge, it's in the top right corner. You can ask it all the kinds of cool stuff. The Security Copilot. You also have the Designer in Microsoft, where you can build your own images using the DALL-E principle. And we're gonna build your own bot. That's what we're gonna look at. There are a lot of GitHub repos where you can build your own bots. You can build your own custom Copilots, and the Azure OpenAI, of course. So there's a lot to play around about AI. So it's gonna take a lot of spare time. I speak from experience. So now we're gonna look at AI in the Microsoft world. If you look at AI in the Microsoft world, the first thing you want to know is, okay, how invested is Microsoft in the AI? So Microsoft said, at Microsoft, we believe artificial intelligence is the defining technology of our time. So if I talked to in another presentation and said, well, you can look at it like there was a time when virtualization was the new thing, when everybody needed, VMware made virtualization possible. So we can run a lot more workloads on a lot less hardware. That was really cool. The internet was one of those defining things. Mobile phones was one of those defining things. Smartphones, and now AI. AI is going to fundamentally change how we do our work. So then Microsoft had their Ignite a few weeks back, and I was wondering, this is the book of news, so everything that has been said on Ignite has been announced, has been said in this book where you can read all the news. So it's a tip to read that this weekend. If you are bored on Saturday evening, you can read this one. And yeah, that's a cool question. We'll get to that in a bit. So so the AI part, so I searched for AI space, and then it said, well, there are 207 entries in this book of news regarding AI. So you can say Microsoft is invested in this. Then you, of course, get the question, okay, but what's the difference then between the Microsoft OpenAI and the OpenAI? OpenAI, there's a doubling there. So if you look at Microsoft, what they're doing is they're implementing their implementation of OpenAI in your tenant with your information, and they can get to the data because it's all in your tenant. So everything you put in your own OpenAI environment and your Copilot is in your tenant. And if you look at the ChatGPT, especially if you have the freeware edition, your information can be used to train the models. Microsoft does not use your information to train the models. So that's one of the most important things and important differences between OpenAI and the Microsoft world. You have a lot more control, so you can also protect who can use the bots, what information you can see and can't see. So the risk of intellectual property exposure is limited because it's all in your tenant, and people have to have access to your tenant to use the bots. So that also helps a lot. More customization, compliance and governance is made more easy because of the Microsoft ecosystem that surrounds all that information that you can feed your bot. You can also do more fine-tuning on proprietary data. For example, we use bots to add tickets to a ticketing system, for example, Topdesk or ServiceNow or Jira or whatever. You can use the APIs to the users can put in. So I think the mouse is broken. They click enter, and already a ticket is created in the background in the system. So they don't have to do anything about that, but they can connect to all. And you can get in, so then you can get information into that ticketing system based on what the user inputs. It also works the way around. If the user has a question, you can connect the bot to the proprietary information that's in your own data center using APIs or endpoints or whatever, just to get the bot to get that information from that system. So also, of course, the integration with the Azure services, and of course the future proofing, because Microsoft is committed and has a long-term investment in AI. So, and Microsoft will keep developing AI in a responsible way. So Microsoft is a more, it feels a little bit more close to home just to do it through the Microsoft way, because you know how Microsoft works, you have contact with them, and they're heavily invested in everything with AI. So how does the Microsoft landscape work? If you look at there are two main streams. The left is the AI-powered productivity. So those are all the co-pilots. And if you look at the right, you have the AI-powered solutions. We're going to look at both just to show you everything that's possible with the use of the OpenAI engines, the OpenAI stuff inside Microsoft. If you look at Microsoft Copilot, so if you look at the Copilots are the pilots that Microsoft built that we can use, and the Copilots integrate with the data that we have in our Azure tenant, in our Sentinel environment, in our Office 365 environment. So they can leverage the data that's already in the systems, and Microsoft Copilot can use them to give the user information or help them do stuff. So those are a lot of Copilots. If you look at the developer, the GitHub for Copilot, we have a Power Platform Copilot where a user can say, okay, I'd like a Power Automate flow that automatically saves every attachment from a mail into my OneDrive, and then the Power Platform Copilot will build that solution for you. So this is incredibly strong and incredibly useful and incredibly expensive, because Microsoft Copilot costs, I think, $30 a month per user, with a minimum of 300 users at this moment, and a commitment for a year. So it's really expensive to run. but it's really powerful. So at our company, we have a lot of software developers that are using GitHub Copilot to help them refine their programming, so their Terraform, PowerShell, Python code. So it does help in the productivity, but it's a tough sell because of the steep entry price. So if you look at the total landscape, we had this other where you say there are two streams. Well, if you look at this one, then you have the Copilot, which is the run-of-the-mill stuff, the SaaS stuff. You have the extended Copilot, where you can have plugins inside the existing Copilots with your own little attachments, little thingies, and then you can build your own Copilot through Azure AI Studio, Microsoft Copilot Studio, and if you can start from scratch, you can use Azure Cognitive Services, or you can run and build your own on your own infrastructure, or in Azure infrastructure, of course. So we're going to do a little bit demo of all of them, just to give you an overview about what's possible, and hopefully to inspire you. One of these things is, who's the boss? That's always a big question if you look at all the AI that's happening inside Microsoft. If you look at the Copilot stuff, you can see that everything up to the application, the AI application, is run by Microsoft. That's on the right side. The AI usage, so the data governance, identity and access management, is something that we do because we use the Microsoft platform. And the user training, that's always our problem. And the policy and admins control, that's always on us as the entity that uses it to govern that. So, and if you go more to the right, if you look at the Azure AI, so if you run OpenAI in Azure, you're responsible for a lot more. It's the same as with if you run infrastructure on Azure, or if you run PaaS on Azure, or SaaS. It's the same thing, but it's good to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. And the more you go to the left, the more you're flexible in how you can use AI, but the more issues you can have with all the things you have to think about. So now it's time to show you some stuff. So the first thing, for some of you, this might be a recap of some of the Ignite stuff, but it's just, there are a lot of people in call. Some of them may have had, I saw a question about GPT-4. Yeah, exactly. The problem with GPT-4 is it's not available in all regions, but those are people that are playing with it. Some of you might not be as advanced as that, so I'll show some of the different stuff, and feel free to add if you have any cool things, cool information you want to add. So the first thing, and that's really cool, is Microsoft released the Azure Copilot. And what does that do? This is an architectural drawing with a little bit of doodling from the Microsoft 365 Copilot. The Azure Copilot works the same. In the middle, there's the Copilot itself, but it sends information and receives information from, if you look at this screen, Microsoft 365. If you look at the Azure Copilot, it will connect to your Azure environment and get your information from there. So the idea is you can use your Azure Copilot to help you do your stuff in the Azure portal more efficiently. If you look at that, so what happens, it's in tech preview now. There are a lot of, same here. It's really cool, but it's a 10 business day waiting list. And I was on the list I tried to before, but first it was denied because I used it on my MSDN. So I hacked I sacrificed one of the production environments from our company to do that, but I'm on the waiting list again. But the Microsoft Azure Copilot, it's just a button up there, and it can help you. So this is one of the, John Saville made a YouTube movie about this one, how this works. So one of the main things that it needs to do is it needs to use the black theme, because the white theme isn't that cool. So it needs to do the black theme. So it can help you change your theme to black, and you don't have to search in your environment where can I change the color from white to black. Yes, just a funny one, but it can do a lot more. If you look at an environment like this one, you can click on a button and you can ask, what are the steps to deploy an Azure Cosmos DB with an Azure App Services? So then it will give you, these are the steps. Here is the code, and you can run it in your CLI if you click run. That's a bit scary, because it will create the code, and if you click run, it will run it. And that's a part of AI can destroy your environment? Yes, but if a user has the rights to destroy an environment and is using AI to run code that's not good, he can run the code also without AI. So the discussion is always, can AI break stuff? Yes, it can, but the user, AI is always run from within the context of the user. So if the user has global reader rights and you run this scripts, and it has no other rights than global reader rights, it cannot build this stuff because it's run from the context of the user. But if we can show you how this can save you a lot of time if you need to deploy something, that you can say, okay, I have, for example, also questions about cost management. Can you help me optimize the cost in cost management? What are the top 3 things I need to do? And it will give you a list of 3 things you can do to cut costs. So I urge you to look at this and give your tenant up for the preview, because it's a really cool and helpful feature. I'm also afraid this might cost a little bit of money when it's in GA, but it's going to be really cool if you can use this in the Azure portal more easy. So then we're going to look about, so those are the SaaS part where Microsoft does everything and we're just asking it information. So this is the Microsoft talking to Microsoft. Now we're going to look a little bit more building your own bot. So Microsoft has built the Copilot Studio, which until a few months ago was the Power Virtual Agent Studio. So they just rebranded it and added some functionality. And in the Copilot Studio, you can build your own Copilots. So what it does, you can build a web app, you can build a Teams or Canvas app, where the user can input a query. The Power Virtual Agent is, I have a demo about it in the next slide, but the Power Virtual Agent will get that information, will try to make sense of it by using Power Automate, do stuff. But Power Automate can also send that information to the large language models that are in Azure OpenAI to get context based on the input from the user and predict what the user really wants. Because we all know users, most of the users can describe what they really want. They just know they want something and they think it's called that, but they're not really sure. So OpenAI can also help there. So how does that work? I have a small demo here that I used at a presentation at E2EVC a few months back. So this is a chatbot that's integrated in Teams. And you can use a phrase, I want to start a VM, and say, well, let's get this VM show started. And it will start a VM. And I think while the VM is starting, it's time for a beer, of course. So, and the VM is running. So this is something that is just based on if this then that, with the possibility if the VM or if the chatbot doesn't really know what to do, you can use the OpenAI to get a little bit more context. So, but this is just this is an easy thing you can do in Power Virtual Agents. It will use Power Automate inside the Power Platform to get stuff done. So how does that work? If you go to web.powerva.microsoft.com, you can get a Copilot. You can get it. You can create it. You can get a trial license for this one for I think 30 days, and then you can prolong it if you use it. You can use it even longer. So you can build a Copilot. You can let it do things. So sorry about this. This is in Dutch. But for example, the start VM thing that we just saw is inputted here. So what is it? It's just this. This looks a lot big and complex. It's relatively easy, but based on a few catchphrases, it will start the if this then that statement saying, okay, what do you want to do? We want to start or stop a VM, and based on the choice you have, it will run a different Power Automate script, starting or stopping the VM if needed. And this works, but if the user inputs something that's not in there, or the user asks a question that is not dealt with in the logic, it's possible to enable the generative AI functionality. The problem is my environment is hosted in the Western Europe, and conversational language for my environment is Dutch. And of course, it's only available in English at the moment. So at the moment, I can't use it, but it's going to be available soon, and then I'm going to play around with it. But what you do with this is it will add generative AI to everything that you ask the chatbot. So if it's a phrase that he knows, he will act on it. If it's a phrase he doesn't know, he will use Bing or OpenAI servers to get that information for you. This is really cool because it will give it a more natural feel for the user when it talks with it. So that's really cool. But if you look at the top one here, intelligence features in your bot, you agree that your information may travel outside the compliance and geographic boundaries of your organization because it will use the Bing search. So if you input something there might be an issue that you put proprietary or PII or whatever in your chat, and it will use Bing search. So there might be a search query somewhere with some information that it shouldn't be. So be aware when you enable this and teach your users well. So this is something that you can do with all Copilots pre-built or Power Virtual agents that you build. There's also the option to, if you have something in this, if this and that statement, and the computer does not know what to do, it will say, well, if on unknown intent, so if you don't know what's happening, if it's less than 3 letters saying, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you want to do, or if the question has been repeated and the user has explained, and after 3 times he did not give the information for the chatbot to actually get to work, it can escalate. And what it will then do, it will you can call an action saying, put it in Azure OpenAI and give me the feedback from that. What it will then do, it will create a Power Automate flow where you can get the information from Power Virtual Agent, initialize an assistant request, input the query to an HTTP query to Azure OpenAI, get that response, test that response based on your compliance, etc. Saying, okay, is this something that I can show to the users, and return that value to the Power Virtual Agent, and he will pick it up from there. So that's a really cool way to get your chatbot inside, for example, Teams, and let users do their stuff. For example, they can use that bot to input a ticket, but also ask other questions regarding political or whatever, and the chatbot will do its best to answer those questions. So it shows you that the generative AI is also in this part is really already very much involved. So if you look at this one, this is I find this very funny, but it says here is this is a chatbot that has an if this then that. But if you ask how can I help, I give 3 songs to the Beatles. I'm on it. So those are 3 songs from the Beatles that he got from Bing search. So just to show you how powerful this can be. So then we did the Copilot stuff that Microsoft built. This is the custom Copilot stuff that we can build. Then we're going to look at Azure AI Studio, where we can build our own conversational bots. And this is also really cool. So if you open Azure AI Studio, so Azure OpenAI Studio, you need to spin up an OpenAI instance in Azure, but then you can use this. This is some kind of no-code solution to building your own bots. So as you can see here, we can have chat, we can have completion models, we can have DALL-E for graphics, so you can build your own. So you can build your own bot that can build pictures. So that's really cool, speech to text, and the bring your own data one. And that one is really cool, and we use that at our customers a lot. And I'll show you how. But as you can see, this is really basic stuff, but it can help you, for example, get less help desk tickets. So what you do is, okay, I opened Azure OpenAI, I said, oh, let's create a chatbot. This is the system message that you want to, this is the environment where you set up your bot, saying, okay, how do you want this bot to act? That's on the left bit here. It says specify how the bot should act, use a system managed template. Where you can say, okay, this is one of the templates that's already there, Shakespearean writing assistants. You can also create your own. And it just helps the bot to know how to respond. For example, I created this bot for a demo where it said, and every sentence with, have you tried turning it off and on again, like in the office? And it will just do that. Every answer it will give. Have you tried turning the router on and off again? Have you tried turning your computer off and on again? It's really cool and really powerful what you can do with it. So in this example, I said, let's do the Shakespearean assistant. And then the system message on the left says you're a Shakespearean writing assistant who speaks in Shakespearean style. to help people come up with creative ideas. And then I said, on the right, I said, hi, give me a poem about Iceland. And then he gave me a poem about 4 or 5 verses long with 4 rules per verse, saying, okay, this is what I can do with that information. And then you can see that it's already done in a Shakespearean way. Oh, Iceland, fair land of ice and fire, where geysers spout and glaciers inspire. So it's really cool that this is just mouse clicking professional stuff. I did not type any line of code to do this. So this is really nice. And the other cool thing, if we go back to the beginning, you can add your own data. Here in the middle is a thing saying add your own data. So what we did at our own company, we uploaded all our handbooks and rule books, etc. We all uploaded them in an Azure blob storage. What the bot then does is daily index all the data that you put in it. It can be PDF, Word, Excel, whatever. It will OCR that information. It will do a semantic search of the data, so a contextual search of everything you put in there. It will try to make sense of the data and give you the responses you think you need. So it will index every day. So if one of the HR people at a company adds a new document and uploads it, it will be indexed, and the next day the bot will know about its existence when we use that data. And it will also use the data that's on the internet. This one is based on GPT 3.5, so that's true. It's a little bit old, but the GPT 4 will come available soon. So if you upload this, then you can deploy it. And this is also still mouse clicking in professional work. You can say, well, what you want to deploy it, and it will default to a web app, an Azure web app. So you can fill in information and the pricing plan. If you enable the chat history, it will remember what you said before, but it will have a Cosmos DB charge to your account. But it will then, you can ask it questions, repetitive questions based on the information already given. You can get deeper into that information. So that's also really cool. So what that does is, this is our own, I work at Rawworks, we have Raw GPT. This is just the basic version. It's a test version that I play around with. So if one of the guys and girls or the company wants to know what time is our office open, the office is called the Raw base. What are the opening times? Well, this is the location. It's open on weekdays, 8:30 to 5:30 p.m. for everyone. For colleagues, there's a key, and if you have an alarm key, it's to open 24/7. And it will also give you the references of the documents that you uploaded. So there was an onboarding document and a house rules documents that are both uploaded. And it will give you, okay, I got this information from these 2 documents. And if you click on the documents, you can read the entire document to get all the context you need. So this is a really easy way, for example, to get all that information that people have in handbooks or cannot find because it's somewhere on a file server or online, but we don't know where. Just put it in here. It can hold up to 30 documents before the maximum amount of semantic capacity is reached. It will cost about 150 euros a month to run. So it's not really cheap, but it's really cool. And cool costs money, as we all know. Then we're going to look at the Azure AI services. So what we did is we did the SaaS part, we did the Copilot part, we did the easy part about the natural language model based on the default settings from Azure and Microsoft and OpenAI. Now we're going to look at the really cool stuff. So this is the Azure AI services that Microsoft is using for different parts of their offerings. First thing is, I saw in I think Gisli did a presentation about cloud landing zones. So this might seem a little bit, oh, that's a good question, Gunnar. The price difference between JetGPT API versus Azure OpenAI. I'm not really sure, because the train that our company is on is the Microsoft train, and we said, well, let's do it in the environment that we can control ourselves, and we know that all the information is in our tenant. But I don't know what's roughly. I can imagine it's not really that far apart, because if Microsoft is 10 times more expensive than JetGPT API, the difference in might make the sell a little bit more tough for the Microsoft part. But as said, if you use OpenAI for chatting, 150 euros a month, with all the excellent information you can put in it, well, it's worth a shot with management. Going to look at the cloud landing zones design. We're making good headway, so I think we'll be finished on time. If you look at the AI services subscription, so these are just the default hub spoke. So the AI services is added into that. You can see the design. So there's a corporate subscription, of course, where the connectivity hub is connected, and then you can add your own services to that. So I'm not going to dive deeply into that, but just know that there is, if you want to use AI services, there is a reference design for Microsoft that you can use. If you open Azure AI services, these are all the things you have in your toolbox. So that's really cool. So you can use the Azure OpenAI for NLM, natural language modeling, AI search, computer vision, where I have a small demo of in a bit, face API, where you can take people and emotions in images. So cool story about that one. We are working with a company that does the security on building sites, and they put up cameras at night so they can see who's coming and going, but not everything through that. But I'm presenting, so I don't have any. But you can just ask the GPT or Bard anything. And what they do is they have cameras, but they watch the cameras at night, but during the day it's a little bit hard because also people that work on a building site are there, and using computer vision and the face API, we are building a proof of value where we can check if someone who's on a building site should be there or not based on their behavior and if their face is recognized from previous encounters. And there's a lot of GDPR information that's also making it a little bit hard. But by the way someone walks, we can predict if he should be there or not. And that's really cool. Really scary, but really cool. So that's more of the computer vision where you can use images and videos to check for who's doing what. So that's really cool. So there are a lot of things you can use here, translated document intelligence. I urge you to look around this and build with your own. Another cool thing that you might want to do is if you want to build your own bot, go to GitHub and look at the AI 900 or the AI 102 GitHub repos, because they have a lot of Python and C code that you can use to build your own AI service. So in this case, I used one of the labs to build OCR, so picture to text. And I just provisioned a computer vision instance. And this is the main part of it, because most of it is really basic, but you have a security key and an endpoint. So we can use the security key to get access, and the endpoint so the code knows where to put the information to. And then you have, this is the AI 102 AI engineer. You can see here on the left, there are a lot of things that you can test, analyze the text, translate text, speech translation, language app. So I did a computer vision where it can get text from an image. It's really basic. It's OCR. We've done it for 20 years, but it's really cool to show you can build it yourself within 60 lines of code using Azure OpenAI. So if you look at this one, it says here, one of the things in the middle is the cognitive service, the endpoint, and the cognitive service key. You put those in your environment, and you can add some code, and you can run it. So it's about 72, 73 lines of code, and it can do this. So I wrote a text saying, I think the Azure User Group Iceland is awesome. And it wrote that because my handwriting sucks. It says Azure, not Azure, but it's just my analog encryption that throws off the computer, because my writing is so bad I can encrypt my own written text. But this is the kind of stuff you can build, and this is not days work. This is just just to tinker around with it and make it work. And if you think, okay, but I want to know more about what you can do with all the different stuff, you have the Portal Vision Cognitive Azure.com. I should Google it, not type it. But here you can see the different things in action before you use them at scale. So, for example, detect common objects in image. I did a demo at a customer where we put in 5 images of bikes, or where on 4 there were bikes, and he could say, I input 5 images. You can say on 4 of the 5 images, there are bikes and these are the 4 images. And he was correct. So that might help in a production environment where you want to see if bottles are broken. So if there are, if you try filling 1,000 bottles an hour and one of the bottles is broken, common objects, for example, can detect if a bottle is not up to par with the rest. Just a thought. So these are all the things you can play around with. And this, if you use the web portal stuff, it's not code, but you can also do it in code. So just look at the GitHub repos, and it will be very cool. And you can. So this is the Delhi image of. I said, okay, let's do a wrap up. So he wrapped up one of the contestants in paper, I think. So that's a wrap up for Delhi. This is all very debatable. So I showed you some technical stuff that you can play around with, but there's also a lot of ethical stuff. So if you look at the ups and the downside of AI, and those are debatable, and I'd like to drink a beer with you guys sometime in the future just to talk about all this stuff. But of course, it's always available, it's scalable, it's improved accuracy over humans because we tend to make errors and the computer does not make errors if the code is good. We can develop faster. If I look at the developers in my company, they say they save about 4 to 8 hours a week by using the Copilot for GitHub to optimize their code, and find faults in their code, so they don't have to. But the possibilities are endless. You can build your own OCR bot, you can build whatever you want, and you can automate all the things that you find boring. So that's cool. The other thing is the downsides is AI is not always that creative. It cannot feel the emotion that someone has. So we as humans can feel if someone is agitated or angry or happy. It can feel it by it can try a little bit by looking at the way you type your information and detect based on information a little bit about that, but it's not good at the empathy that not feeling like we can. So the other thing is all things you automate, you can lose the skill. The automated surveillance at scale is the one that's scary because what I also told about the pilot we're running, the proof of value we're running, it automated surveillance at scale. If you have the AI in place, you can severely surveillance everyone. So that's something, yeah, well, and you can also surveillance your people, knowing what they're doing, looking at the questions they're asking. So the pros are endless, the cons are endless. It will increase laziness for some people because they just ask GPT and don't do anything and stop thinking. So that's something that we need to educate, and it can be expensive to run. One of the greatest downsides is that it's only as good as the information it's giving. So if you look at ChatGPT, the information it gives out is not always true. That's because the one on the right, on the bottom, a lawyer blames ChatGPT for tricking him into citing bogus case law because the lawyer typed the case into ChatGPT saying, "Do you think I can get a case out of this?" And ChatGPT says, "Yes, based on this and this and this information, I believe that the information that you have, you might have a lawsuit." And then he did he signed in the lawsuit, and then the judge said, "No way, it's not valid." So if the information is not 100% accurate or not 100% up to speed, or the prompt engineering that the user does is not up to par, it can give you information that you don't need or isn't correct. So the other thing is, of course, the loss of job that it might create, but it will also create a lot of jobs because AI also needs to be maintained, needs to be taught, needs to be tested, needs to be. So it's just like in the old days, you had the industrialization where everything went from doing by hand by using machines. It changed our work. It did not make us lose our job. It just changed the way we work and changed our work. I want to wrap up. I just have a few slides left. So there's of course the responsibility of AI, but there's always the idea that AI should not be biased, should not be racist, should not give information that could harm you. This is something that Microsoft has built into the core of their product. And they are very keen into preserving that. So for us, if you build your own bots, you have to be aware of the principles of AI and to the responsibility to be inclusive, accountable, reliable, and safe. So just think about this as the moral guidelines where AI should need to Then there's the problem with regulation, because I don't know about the Icelandic government, but in the Dutch government, there are all the people that are in the government don't know computers and they don't understand AI. So that's a bit of a problem. So the regulation of AI is always slower than the development of AI. But if you look at the left, Biden wants to move fast on AI safeguards. And if you look at the UN Council, they also want to mitigate the risks of AI. So you can see that the possibilities are endless, but we also have laws and we also have the things that should be done right, and you have responsible AI. So it's a bit of a minefield sometimes to navigate your AI build too. But it's really cool. From experience, this is one of the last things I want to give to you is AI development is not like normal development, because if you want to use an AI bot to get information from your proprietary data or from inside your organization and put it in a chatbot or whatever, or do it in cognitive service or whatever, get your data and APIs in order. So to get everything available for the AI bot to do its magic with, it's going to take a lot of time, because most of the companies aren't far enough in their digital transformation from on-premises and proprietary and legacy systems to get all that information to you. So the build is also a bit of work, but the test and teach to help your customers and your users use this AI the way it's supposed to and the way it should be used is something that really requires a lot of time. And that's something that if people talk to me and saying, okay, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, well, you might not do your build job, but you might do the test and teach job, because it's a lot of time is going into that. So the last one of the wrap up, the age of AI is upon us. We can do like it didn't happen, that it didn't exist, but it's upon us and it's going to change the way we work. Can we keep our jobs? Yes, but the job will change. From if you look at your coding 40 hours a week and writing Terraform code, your job will change to more controlling or checking the code if the code is correct and if the code is used in the correct way and if the syntaxes are up to par with what the company wants. But your job will change. Okay, do you lose your job? Yes, if you don't start using AI, there's a chance that someone who is using AI is going to take your job because he's more efficient at it. But do I need to worry? No, because if Microsoft and all the other vendors are using AI the way it's supposed to and the way they should and the way they are, AI is going to help us, not replace us. And of course, to replace programmers with AI, clients need to accurately describe what they want. So we're safe for now. So it's going to be more of a job displacement and job transformation than a loss of jobs. So based on that, the only thing I can say is welcome to the rabbit hole that's called AI, and everything that's in there and everything you can do with it. There are 152 tools to play with. I showed you Copilot, I showed you SaaS, I showed you everything. And with that said, that's all, folks. Thank you very much for your time. I took almost an hour. I got 2 minutes left, but I hope you find it inspiring and you get something out of it. And if you have any questions, I'll leave my contact info in the chat so you can reach me through Teams or mail or whatever. So thank you.
Thank you too. It was awesome to see this. I really like the Copilot thing. Just signed up for it now while I was watching. So
yes,
of course
I inspired someone. Yes.
Yeah, there's a question from Gunnar. Yes, regarding Bing, if it's using ChatGPT-4.
Yeah, and what Gunnar said is true. It's also choose your champagne, choose your poison. The Bing is a little bit more compact, while the ChatGPT is a little bit more based, and that's also based on the parameters and tokens and the information you can put in it. And I didn't go into that bit of it, but choose your poison. We are as a company, and
it is a little bit limited, Bing. So for this example, if I want to generate code, it's very limited in Bing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the quality of the implementation, the OpenAI might be a little bit more advanced if you just look at the public side of it. Not the private side, but just the public information. The OpenAI implementation from OpenAI itself might be a little bit more advanced. But it's just choose your poison. You choose what's best for your company and for you. But there are a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. We have already built a small project at our company just to answer questions and such, which is really cool. And generating documents, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Let's just unmute and raise your hand or something.
That's a good question, Gunnar. I don't know. I looked online. I looked at I didn't look at all the Ignite content because the time is also limited on my side, but I'm not sure what it will cost. Perhaps it might also work on the Azure is more of the pay-per-use, so it might also be that it's just going to say it costs you, I don't know, 2 cents per question or 5 cents per question or something like that. But I'm not really sure. And perhaps Microsoft might. There's also the possibility that it might, just like Bing. Oh yeah, that would be steep. But it would be, if it's $30 per month, it would be steep. It would be for every admin that has that can connect to Azure, has Copilot. That would be that is not. Yeah, it would not be a very wise choice to buy. I think. I don't think $30 a user would you would get that in back. If you look at Copilot for Microsoft 365, if it can build a presentation based on 2 Word documents and one PowerPoint or one OneNote deck, it would help. But yeah.
I have a question regarding the future. We have some leaks around Q-Star from OpenAI, and we have also, Musk is talking about the AGI is going to be within the next 3 years. So what's your prediction on AGI?
AGI?
AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Oh, general intelligence. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that I am completely in alignment with Elon, because I think Elon is a visionary and a dreamer, but he gets his timelines not always in the correct order. But I think that artificial general intelligence will be something that we will meet in the coming 5 years. I think the timeline will be a little bit longer, but as you can see, that everyone is jumping on the train. Every company is jumping on the train. So it's something that's going to be there. But timeline-wise, I'm not smart enough, and my crystal ball doesn't go far enough into the future just to know for sure. But it's something that's going to come.
Yeah. So I think we're out of time. So I just want to wrap this up and say thank you for this. It was wonderful to have you. Hopefully we will get you back to this. It was, thank you so much, says Robert. So hopefully we'll get you back next year. That would be possible. So this was a great presentation, and thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. So what I'll do is I'll input all the links that I have in the presentation into the chat here. So and also my contact information. So if you have any questions, you want to follow up, I love AI, so I can talk about this for days. So if you just want to follow up or have some questions, and give me let's keep in touch, because if the AI world is going like crazy. So perhaps next Q1 next year there will be some new innovation that we can do a session about. So I'd love to come back. You're a great group, so anytime.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, have a nice weekend.
Yes, same to you. Enjoy, and hope to see you soon again.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.